What's up, slashes and slashettes? My name's Nightfall, and welcome to another anime analysis video. Today, we will be discussing the protagonist of Reborntomastertheblade, from Hero King to Extraordinary Squire, Inglis Eucus. Inglis Eucus, before being reincarnated into a little girl, was, well, Inglis the Hero King. Someone who, obviously, became the hero of the world, but then had to give up training and hero work in order to continue ruling as king. He was said to be an incredible leader who lived for his people and devoted his life to ruling over them as the greatest king they could ever have. When we are introduced to him in the first episode, he is on his deathbed, and the goddess who blessed him decided to grant him any wish he desired as a reward for his selfless life. That wish was to relive his life, and instead of devoting himself to ruling, he wanted to devote himself to training and fighting to see just how strong he could have gotten. This wish is what leads him to be reincarnated further in the future as the Inglis we know now. In this new life, he is still able to use the powers of the goddess, but we don't meet anybody else until later in the season who can use them as well. This makes him very powerful as he uses Aether, a more raw form of mana in a sense. And that's important as using a weaker form of mana, or rather using magic, has seemingly become unknown to humanity at some point between his death and reincarnation. So I know what you're thinking. It's just another overpowered MC, so what? Why is she so great? Well, she is written as a morally gray character, or really as if she has no morals at all. The reason why I say this isn't because, oh, she's an immoral person, she's an evil person, but rather, while she is the protagonist for us, in the show's world, she tries her best to basically be a side character, content on remaining a squire instead of becoming a full-fledged knight. She doesn't make decisions based on what is good or bad. She leaves that up for Ronnie to decide, and she just goes along with whatever she says, because Inglis really doesn't seem to care what happens as long as she gets to fight someone strong. This sometimes makes her come off as selfish, and her constant thirst for combat makes for unique, and a lot of times hilarious, interactions between her and other characters. Also, while she is overpowered and constantly wanting to run the fate of literally everyone she comes into contact with, she isn't actually as impulsive as you would think. She still has all the knowledge of her previous life, and that includes all the fighting techniques and strategies she mastered, making her not only powerful, but even harder to beat in combat as she is quite intelligent in that regard. But also shows that she actually does think before she acts, instead of just going in and swinging at random. And, well, you guys know how much I love intelligent characters. Further exploring her intelligence, she's capable of telling exactly what magic you're casting, what it does, and will then come up with how best to counter it with the knowledge she acquired. Honestly, she's almost like a female Anos without as much flexing, though she do be flexing now and then. However, there was an issue I see brought up in the reviews and comments of the show that I want to discuss, so let's move on to that, shall we? The issue I see often discussed is that this is an isekai when it's actually not, because she doesn't get reincarnated in a different world, she gets reincarnated in the same world just in the future, which means it's not an actual isekai but instead a normal fantasy. I'm joking. That's not the issue I was wanting to discuss. The actual issue I wanted to discuss was how her being selfish makes no sense, or is aggravating, and other comments such as that. The reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I actually believe her selfishness is justified. Remember what I said about how he lived his life for his people? Well, I wasn't over exaggerating it. He was quite possibly the most selfless person in the world. He cared for his people and was regarded as an outstanding king. But in order to do that, he gave up hero work, his training, his life. He gave up everything he wanted to do so that way he could rule over his people. He was a true, kind-hearted man. So where am I going with this? How does this tie in with our Inglis? This just makes her selfishness seem more out of character, right? Well, we find out that she looked through books, historical records, anything that would have had information on what became of her kingdom which no longer existed. And there was nothing. No trace, no mention, not a single word about her past life as king, her kingdom, were its fate. She sacrificed her dreams and devoted her life to ensuring her people didn't have to suffer, ensuring that they could live happily and prosperous. And it was all for nothing. She lived, fought, ruled, and died for nothing. And that's why I believe that she's not only a great protagonist, but that her seemingly selfish actions are indeed quite justified. After watching Reborn to Master the Blade, I really didn't think it was all that special. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it and thought it was a great anime, but then I really put thought into Inglis's character and her position, and couldn't help but be like, you know what? She earned the right to be selfish and live however she wants. And from then on, I had a newfound love for the show, and I recommend you all watch it, as it's quite funny and has a lot of good action and things like that. With that out of the way, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I will hopefully see you all soon. Goodbye.